We have a 4-house farm. It's a contract grower relationship that we have. We've been working with them in a research scenario for 10 years, a little over 10 years now. So a lot of products and strategies have been vetted through that operation. But we have pen setups in a couple of those houses as well as the houses. And so we typically take a control versus test approach. So control would be looking at whatever formulas I have in production versus one other treatment where we evaluate either a product or some type of formulation strategy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Poultry Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast, where we discuss the latest in poultry nutrition, research, and industry trends in approximately 10 minutes. My name is Sam Rochel. I'm an associate professor of poultry nutrition at Auburn and a co-host of the show. And today I'm joined by a longtime friend in the industry, Dr. Ashley House, who is an integrator nutritionist. So we're going to hear a little bit about what she's up to and kind of how she approaches her work and her day-to-day decision-making. So great to be with you, Ashley. Thanks for joining, and good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Well, hey, to get started, can you tell everyone a little bit about just kind of a brief background of your path and kind of what your current role is?
Yeah, so currently I am Director of Nutrition and Research for Fieldale Farms Corporation. I have been with Fieldale for 6.5 years. Prior to that, I was with Evonik for a couple of years, and Evonik was my first position out of my PhD, which I completed at UGA.
Awesome. Yeah, very good. So you have the luxury of being both nutrition and research. So you're helping answer the questions that you need to make formulation decisions. So can you talk a little bit about your setup on that as far as the facilities that you have and maybe even how that translates into validation in field trials? And we'll get into all of this.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I am very fortunate that we have a research facility. I know a lot of people in my position don't have that at their hands. So we have a 4-house farm. It's a contract grower relationship that we have. We've been working with them in a research scenario for 10 years, a little over 10 years now. So a lot of products and strategies have been vetted through that operation. But we have pen setups in a couple of those houses as well as the houses. And so we typically take a control versus test approach. So control would be looking at whatever formulas I have in production versus one other treatment where we evaluate either a product or some type of formulation strategy. And so, we have the numbers in the houses, and then we have the pens to give us that statistical piece. We look at the directionality of how the pens in the houses perform to see if we feel like there's some consistency in the outcome of what we're testing.
Very good. And I know, and I think this will be of interest to a lot of our listeners on the allied side. What are some things that, decision makers that on which products get tested? And then if somebody comes to you with a new product, what is the information that you would say is most helpful to say, hey, I can kind of get started with this now, even though you're going to evaluate it yourself? Yeah,
no, that's a great question. So we typically, as a lab production team, try to make these decisions together because, it benefits us all. So, generally I'm being approached, sometimes our veterinarian, with in-feed additives. So our expectation of our suppliers is to have controlled research that answers mechanistically what the product is doing, what types of things it's addressing, what issues it's addressing or challenges. And then it's great to see, field work to supplement that, to see how it's worked when you've put it in a field scenario. But those are the type expectations that we have. It's not easy for an integrator operation to be a proving ground for any product. So we really expect that whoever comes to us, the suppliers that come to us, have a good understanding of what that product is capable of doing. And so at that point, we'll have a discussion and say, we think this is a good candidate for evaluation at the research facility because, X, Y, and Z challenges could be addressed through testing it. So Yeah. And then, the team comes together to make those decisions.
That's awesome. And so obviously, depending on, the problem you're trying to solve is going to dictate the measurements. But what are some of the key measurements you're typically tracking from your research and field trial? I mean, obviously performance, but I guess, can you measure yield in your research facility as well? And then, are you looking at litter or behavior or these other things as well?
Yeah. So yes to all. So we always collect lab production parameters. That's the standard. I mean, those are generally a big component of your ROI evaluation for any product that you're doing. But depending on the product, during the winter, we tend to test products that are more health adjacent, like gut health type. So, we've done that kind of thing in the past and collected gut samples. If it was some type of microbiota modulation, supposedly adjacent, we would do something like that. We've done tissue collection for nutrient uptake to verify that some of the nutritional additives that I've supplemented are translated to tissue uptake. Meat quality is a big piece for us. So we typically, if the product has some type of meat quality implication, we would typically gather that kind of data. Yield is something that we look at. If we feel like what we're testing is going to have a yield advantage, then our yield team will collect at the plant. Fortunately for us, we've got somebody in place that can do that.
That's awesome.
Some of the work that we do at the research farm is formulation strategy more than product. And those are the type things like amino acid work, et cetera, that I typically expand into a bigger trial after the termination of the research farm. So we've done a good bit of field work in my time here. And most of that, though, is more, like I said, more strategy testing.
And is that generally the next step, like a paired house trial? Do you have the ability to do that, or kind of stay away from that? Or do you often just kind of compare with past performance? Or
what I really like to do, and what we've done for amino acid research in the field most recently, is we've tried to take at least a placement week of farms and split them so that I'm feeding alongside one another the control and test treatment in the field. It is a lot of work for the feed mills. It's a lot of work for feed dispatch, but ultimately it gives us a lot of numbers, and it gives us a comparison of those programs in all of our products that we have in the field. So it really is a good global look, and honestly, in some ways, it might be a little bit easier to manage than just a paired house or a paired couple of houses. The way that it works operationally, they've been really great to manage it.
That's awesome. It sounds like a very efficient system, and it's really cool. You can kind of look at it from each of these different levels.
Ready for more sustainable poultry production? New data suggests that decreasing bacterial loads in feed using Termin 8 supports enteric health, leading to improved performance. Gut health is more than a gut instinct. Learn more today at www.anatox.com.
What about, interesting things or kind of surprises that you've learned? I mean, have you really changed your mind on anything, or really changed how you formulate based on data from this? And maybe something that's, we don't read in the textbook?
Well, it's interesting that you ask. I mean, I think most of the things that we evaluate are because somebody's had an idea somewhere, but the amino acid work this year has been really interesting. A lot of that has yielded good outcomes that have turned into field trials that have then turned into production implements. So I was actually just telling our flock supervisors yesterday, I was reporting to them that a trial we had done in late spring, summer, that turned into a field trial in late summer, fall, I just implemented this week in production. So some of these things do come through the system and work out really well. Same thing with some of the additives that we've tested, things that maybe I wouldn't have bet would have yielded what I thought they would, actually did, and showed a good payback for us. So yeah, everyone doesn't win. There's no doubt, but you do get the wins, and they for sure make it worth it.
Yeah, well, that's good. And I commend you for being open-minded on that, because it is easy sometimes if you try something once or twice to kind of shut out maybe a product category or whatever. But I mean, you have to keep an open mind.
I think so. Yeah.
Be innovative to find these that do work in your system.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the breeds change through the years, the conditions change, the challenges change through the years. So I have to believe that, you got to go back to some of these things that maybe haven't worked in the past to see if they have some efficacy in the system currently.
Hey, I really appreciate it. I know the audience is going to take a lot away from this. I think about graduate students, emphasizing the importance, because you're using kind of the foundations of experimental techniques and the process and statistics to do this, but then also, from the allied side, understanding how, they can partner with integrators in a productive way to really, move the industry forward and as well. So really appreciate these insights, and I think it's going to be well received.
Well, thank you. It was really good to talk to you and catch up.
Yeah, good to see you. And thanks to all the audience for listening to another episode of the Poultry Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe so that you catch the next one. And we'll see you then. Thank you.